Hello. I'm just trying to get Instagram set up here. But today I wanted to talk about a question that I'm getting a lot lately, which is about how to declutter when everywhere is closed. Like when you can't actually get rid of the stuff out of your house. What are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to just let it pile up? Where do you put it? What do you do with it? That's what we're talking about. So let's get stuck into the ways that you can actually declutter while everywhere is closed, where you can't actually pop it in your car and bring it somewhere and get rid of it. And one of the things that I always talk about is having an exit strategy, which is having an idea, having a plan for how you are going to get stuff out of your house. But right now, when that is not really possible or not feasible for a lot of us, I wanted to share tips that I have so that you can still have the benefits of decluttering without. So I've written a list and I'm going to go through it with you. And the very first one is you don't have to focus on physical decluttering. Digital decluttering is a great way to get rid of stuff and lighten your load without actually being left with a whole pile of crap in your home. So I think most of us live a certain amount of our lives online these days. Even if you're not, like me, even if you don't have an online business, I think we all have email accounts. We all have maybe utility accounts, companies that we've signed up for that send us our bills, bank statements, maybe we would get those online. We access information online. A lot of us use our phones and tablets and things for taking and storing photographs, videos. We have files and folders, we have all sorts of things. So doing a good digital declutter can be a great way to get rid of crap that is kind of weighing you down and taking up space in your life, without actually having to physically declutter stuff and have a big pile of stuff left over. So going through emails, going through articles that you have saved, going through your bookmarks, going through photos and videos on your phone. If you're anything like me, you have tens of thousands. Going through things like that will make things a lot easier for you. Your day-to-day stuff. You probably have social media accounts. You probably follow people that you don't need to follow anymore. You don't want to follow anymore. Doing a good declutter of all of those is a great way to rid yourself of junk that you don't need in your life anymore. So do consider digital decluttering, subscriptions, if you like subscribe to newsletters or whatever, getting rid of all of those. That is a great way to lighten your mental load. I will say at this stage, so I'll come back to your questions at the end. First, I want to just get through these and then I'll scroll back and answer questions. I will say though, consider kind of why you are decluttering. Most of us are decluttering because we feel overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that we have and we want to make our lives easier. There are other ways to make your life easier, even if you can't necessarily get rid of a lot of stuff right now. So do think about why you're decluttering and think about, are there any other ways that you could achieve the same result or a similar result? Also think about, a lot of us are decluttering as well because we want to make more space for other things that we would prefer to do. We want to make more time to focus on things that are more important to us. So you don't necessarily have to declutter right now to still go and enjoy those things. So instead of first maybe like getting rid of a whole pile of stuff, just focus on spending more time doing the things that you want to do, making a little bit more space for the stuff that you actually love. So that's just something to consider right off the bat, like why you are decluttering. What is the result that you hope to achieve? What are the feelings that you want to get from it? And then see if there is another way that you can achieve the same result. So the next one then, and I talked about this in last week's video about decluttering, is what I like to call natural decluttering. And that is essentially where you use something up. So just by going about your normal life, you are using something up. And a prime example is food. So Go through your pantry, your freezer, your fridge, wherever you store your food, and start using things up. You probably have things in there that maybe you bought weeks, months ago for a recipe and only needed a small little bit of it. Maybe because now you are tending to buy things in bulk, you are finding that you have lots of one particular thing, and you're not necessarily, because you're not in the habit of using that particular thing, maybe you're not in the habit of using it up. So go through wherever you store your food, have a look at what you have on hand, and then see how you can naturally use that stuff up. Go through your freezer. I'm sure you have stuff at the back of your freezer. I certainly do. That has been in there for a while and could use eating basically before it goes bad. And try to do up maybe a little meal plan for yourself. You probably have, when you do a shop, you probably have lots of, fresh fruits and vegetables. Those are the things that you need to use up first. So try and plan around that sort of thing. Like, how can you naturally use up the stuff you have so that it doesn't go bad, so that it doesn't go unused and you eventually do have to throw it away, trash it, whatever. Another one then is, if you are a crafter, using up the crafting supplies that you have. You may have, maybe some cardstock, some stickers, things like that. Make some cards and send them to people. Make up that scrapbook that you've been wanting to make. If you've got, I don't know, like if you are a knitter or you like crochet or embroidery or something like that, use up all your threads and, take on a new pattern. Use up different like balls of wool that have been left over from other projects and see what you can make out of those scraps. Fabric scraps are another great one. Like, can you make a quilt out of all the fabric scraps you have? So look around your home and see what you can use up, like naturally. What can you cook? What can you make? What can you bake? What can you like fashion? I don't know. But yeah, that's what I like to call it, natural decluttering, where you were just naturally using something up. You were using it for the purpose that it was intended to be used, so that it doesn't go unused and become junk or something that needs to be decluttered. Also another thing that I wrote down a little bit there is, now is also a good time to set up like a little compost heap or a little compost bucket or bin, so that the food that you are using, the food that maybe some of it is going to waste, or you've just got like skins and peels and things after you cook or prepare meals, maybe set up a little compost bin so that that stuff isn't just all going into the trash or into your garbage disposal, which actually just ends up in, like, it gets treated as wastewater. So that requires a lot of, chemicals and things to clean it out. Start yourself a little compost bin. Then you've got like natural fertilizer and stuff for your garden. So again, it's kind of like naturally using the stuff that you have instead of letting it get to the point where it turns into trash. Okay, so let's move on then to recycling and upcycling. Again, there are things that you have around your home that instead of being trashed or donated, you can probably find another use for. Now, this is not an excuse to just keep things like, oh, maybe I'll use that someday, or maybe in an ideal world, I would turn this thing into something else. That's not what I'm talking about, but you probably do have things around your home that you could upcycle in some way or give it a new use. So if you are decluttering clothes, for example, maybe you have some t-shirts that could be torn up and used as cleaning rags. Same with like old towels and linens and things. Maybe those can be torn up and used as cleaning cloths. But think about all the things that you have on hand, and if there is another use that they could provide to you. If you've got some empty containers, milk cartons, jars, wash them out and use them to like grow a little garden for yourself, grow some seeds, things like that. So just try and think outside the box. Think, if this were to have another life, what would it be? And do I have like the skills or the time or the inclination to actually do that? So don't necessarily think of something as trash immediately. Another one then, I think a lot of us declutter to make more space for ourselves in our homes. Thank you for all your questions. I will get to them at the end. I see them all coming through. Thank you so much. But yeah, we want to make more physical space in our homes. You don't necessarily have to declutter to do that. So, a great way to create some more space for yourself is just to take things out of boxes. Boxes can be big and bulky, particularly like food items. Toys and things can come in giant boxes when really like the stuff in them is this big. If you've ever got a delivery and a box is like this big and it's like this tiny little thing in it. But taking things out of boxes can be a really great way of actually saving yourself some time and then just breaking down the boxes and popping them in your regular recycling. I know a lot of people do this, particularly like with jigsaw puzzles, with Lego sets. Like the Lego boxes are pretty big. Sometimes you get like a gadget or something. Maybe you're storing something in a box and it doesn't necessarily need to be stored in the box. Maybe you're just keeping the box just in case. You can just recycle that box. What's another one I have? Oh, reducing foods is another great one. Again, if like foods come in big, bulky boxes and packaging and things, you may be able to find a way to condense them. Maybe you have, and the same goes for like toiletries and things. You do have to be careful about obviously what you're condensing. But if you've got two half used things and they're both the same things or very similar things, you can probably condense them down into one container rather than having two different ones. Something that I like to do when I've got like two half used pasta boxes, if they are similar pastas and they have a very similar cook time, I'll just throw them all into the one container. Like I don't really care what type of pasta I'm eating if they're all kind of similar, like penne pasta and like fusilli or whatever. So that can be a great way to do things as well. If you've got two similar things that can just be condensed down into one container instead of having them in two separate containers. That's a great way to make space for yourself without necessarily having something that needs to be sent off to a donation center without, having boxes and things hanging around. Like those can just be put in with your regular recycling. Folding clothes as well is a great way of actually saving yourself a lot of space. You will be amazed by how much space you will save if you just take a little bit of extra time to properly fold your clothes. Obviously, I have my video on the KonMari method of folding if anyone wants to check that out. I also have a video on folding underwear, which is a very popular video. And I have one on folding fitted sheets. So if you have like a dresser drawer that has become a little bit unruly, actually taking the time to fold your clothes, you'll be amazed at how much space you will save. So again, it comes back to that thing of like, you don't necessarily have to declutter something in order to still reap the benefits of decluttering. So that's it. Yeah, just like condensing things, taking them out of the box, or just otherwise creating that extra space in your home. One thing then, if you do have, so let's talk about if you actually do have physical things that you want to get rid of, because that will be a problem. People do still have physical stuff that they want to get rid of, and maybe it's already starting to stack up. But there are ways of getting rid of things that don't involve going to a Goodwill or going to a St. Vincent de Paul or whatever. You can either give them to like neighbors or friends or whatever. Now, obviously, still practicing social distancing, but in our neighborhood, we have like a group text, and anyone who has something that they think someone else would be interested in, they just post it up. And so like I said that I had some magazines that I just finished reading. Did anyone want a stack of like 4 or 5 magazines? We're passing around jigsaw puzzles. So we will just go, like we'll pop up a message in the group chat. Someone will say that they want it or whatever. We'll just go over and leave it on their porch. There's no like interaction involved in it, but it's still a good way to like pass things around so that they still get used up, so that they get a second chance at life or whatever, but they're still out of your home. And then another great way is to utilize something like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or something like that. If you've got stuff that you were just going to donate anyway, like you're not thinking about selling it or anything, just pop it out on your porch or out on your driveway or wherever in a safe-ish place, and then pop up an ad, like snap a picture, pop up an ad on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or wherever, and just say that the stuff is free to take away. Chances are somebody will want it and somebody will come and take it. So you're still getting rid of things. They're still getting a new lease at life, and you're not trashing them. Somebody else will want them and will use them. So that is a great way if you do have physical stuff that you want to get rid of, physical stuff that would otherwise be piling up in your home. That's a great way to get rid of them. Like, don't discount the fact that somebody can still come and take that stuff, even if all the donation centers right now are closed and are not accepting donations. Individual people still want those donations. Um, I have seen some people online still selling things while still practicing social distancing. So what they're doing is, and they're really for like small ticket items because it kind of relies a little bit on the honor system. But if you've got some things, maybe some clothes or whatever that you want to sell for a few dollars, leaving them outside your home in a box or whatever, and letting someone know that it's there and it will cost $5, $10 or whatever, and leaving like an envelope or something where they can pop in the money and then just take the box or whatever away with them. Obviously, don't use it for like a big item that costs a lot of money that you want to get a lot of money from, just in case. There are still some people out there who will take advantage. But for smaller things where, worst case scenario, you could suck up the loss, consider that. That is another great way that you can still make some extra money while also getting rid of your stuff. If you have stuff in your home, you can't get rid of it. You don't want to do the whole Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or whatever. You don't want people coming to your home for whatever reason. If you've got stuff, store it in a place that is out of the way. Store it in the boot trunk of your car so that when places do reopen and you're back out running errands, it's already there, ready to go. It's already in your car. You can also store it in like an upstairs closet. Store it somewhere out of the way. Also try and make sure that it is neatly stacked. If you're putting things in like trash bags or something, the tendency is that they look like trash. They look messy and they just make a space look horrible and they make you feel horrible then. But if you have everything, say, in a box or in a container, things that can be stacked neatly and can be put away somewhere, that will make you feel better about it. I know maybe it will take a little bit of extra time just to kind of stack things a little bit more neatly, but that is a great way that you can still hang on to the stuff before you can get rid of it, but without having it take over your home and just take up a lot of space and just make you feel bad and like you're tripping over it every day. Just put it out of the way. Particularly if you can put it in your car, that's a great one. But just in a closet that's out of the way, in the attic, in the basement, somewhere where you're not seeing it every single day, but it is still accessible so that when everything reopens and the world is normal again, you can easily grab it and go. And then the final thing that I want to talk about, and then I will come to all of your questions. Thank you so much for them. The final thing is to use this time to stem the flow. So we all have things that are coming into our home on a regular basis. Now is the time to examine those things and see what you can cut off at the source. I call it stemming the flow. So maybe you have a magazine that you subscribe to, like a newspaper that you subscribe to that comes to your home on a regular basis. Do you really need that? So it's not necessarily decluttering, getting things out of your home right now, but it is saving future you from having to do even more decluttering. So are there things that you are getting delivered to your home, delivered to your inbox, something like that? Like we talked about, digital decluttering can be a big time, space, well, digital space saver as well. But are there things that you can look at right now that you can stop coming into your home? Subscriptions? Are there memberships that you can cancel right now, or at least put a temporary hold on or something like that? So think about how you can save future you from amassing a lot of clutter. I hope that was really helpful for you. I hope that if you are decluttering, that you have found these tips can be like practically applied in your life and will really make a big difference. I hope that you can still feel that you can declutter. You can still feel that you can have the benefits of decluttering without necessarily having a home that is just full of stuff. I hope that was really helpful. I'm going to go back now and answer some questions that I got. There are loads, so I'm sorry if I don't get to yours, but I'll hang around for another few minutes and yeah, see if anyone has like any specific questions about it or any tips. If you have your own tips to share, please do. Like, what are you doing to still declutter, still make space in your home without necessarily just having piles and piles of stuff building up around you? Um, Michelle, unsubscribing from emails, deleting photos, or moving into the cloud. Yes, that's a really good one. I would also encourage you to back up all of your devices right now. Now is also a great time, not necessarily to think about what you want to get rid of, but also, as I mentioned in the beginning, what you want to bring more of into your life. So, backing up is one of those things where technically you are taking up extra space, like you may need to use an external hard drive or an iCloud account or whatever, but it is like useful space. It is making space for the things that actually matter to you. So, thinking about something like that can be really important as well. Not just what you want to get rid of, but what you want to make more space for, what you are willing to make more space for. Crafty565, the freezer. Yeah, eating out of the freezer is a great one. You're naturally using up the stuff, naturally saving all that space, but not wasting anything. Daisy Murray has been using fabric scraps to sew masks. There you go. That's a great one. And I've seen loads of like tutorials and stuff on YouTube. It's actually another great place. Like if you're not sure what to do with something or how you can turn something into something else, YouTube is a great resource. I've seen people make masks out of coffee filters. Now, obviously, they're not like the N95 proper masks, but if you would feel better wearing a mask, it's better than not wearing anything, particularly if you are feeling a little bit under the weather, though if you are, stay at home, do not venture out. But if you feel better wearing a mask, then you could definitely fashion one if you don't have some already. Michelle has scrapbook materials and items, things like that. Yeah, now's a great time to like write letters, use up all those letter writing sets that you have, all the stationery, all the papers, the cards, things like that. Use them up, send them to people. Now's a great time to connect with people on that level. And you will be, again, naturally using up the stuff that you have. So that's, yeah, another great, great one. Michelle, sounds like I have some projects ahead of me. Yeah, just use up the stuff that you have that's, already in your home. Let me see. Unroll Me, Michelle says, is a great app to unsubscribe to emails. Yeah, so Unroll Me basically will unsubscribe. It will kind of roll up all of your subscriptions, your email subscriptions into one feed, like one digest, I guess. It will show you them all at once, so you can automatically just unsubscribe from all of them, just like with a click, rather than having to like go through your email inbox and try and find them all individually. And then you can roll up certain ones so that each day, instead of receiving like emails from like 10 different companies, you will get an email from Unroll Me with just, it's one email, but it contains all the information from those 10 different emails. I do know a while ago they had some problems with security. They were, I think, selling people's information. So I think they have fixed that problem now, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm not 100% comfortable recommending them just because I had heard of that in the past. But definitely look into it. I'm sure they probably have fixed all those problems now. Definitely look into it. That's a good one to look into. Michelle says she's taking notes. Great. Let me see. How do I donate everything if every donation store is closed? So yeah, like using Craigslist, using Facebook Marketplace to still get those things into the hands of other people. Like you're basically cutting out the middleman if you think about it. And obviously, like donation centers rely on income and stuff. So if you can hold on to it and you can put it in an out of the way place, that's great. But if you really just need it out of your house right now and you want to benefit someone else kind of immediately, leaving it out with a note like free to take or whatever is a great way to do that. Do go through your donation piles though. A lot of us, and I'm guilty of this as well, we have probably all donated stuff in the past that really is not in donation like quality. It is something that really probably should be trashed. Like really think about whether somebody else will want it. Like if it's something that's looking a little bit raggy, if it's got a hole in it or something, Like, are you just using a donation center as trash? And that's a harsh, but we've all done it. We've all kind of just said, oh, yeah, this can be donated. I'm sure someone will want it, even though it's like not looking its best or whatever. And I'm not saying you have to donate like only the best of the best, but do go through your donation pile and see if there's anything there that really probably belongs in like your recycling bin, for example, or maybe in like a textile bin, or something like that, that can be cut up for scraps rather than being resold. Because donation centers, like, it takes them, they put a lot of time and money and resources into sorting through everything that comes in, and like separating out what can actually be sold in the store and what is just trash and will need to be sent on somewhere else. And that takes them a lot of time and energy. So if you can cut out that time for them, they will greatly appreciate that. Um, Let me see. So yeah, popping them for stuff that you do want to donate, you definitely want to donate and you don't want to go down the route of like leaving it outside for someone to take. Having them in boxes or containers that you can put away in a place where it's out of the way, you're not tripping over it, it's not an eyesore for you. Your car is a great one if you know that you won't be using your car. Like, don't fill up the boot of your car with stuff and then try and go get groceries next week and like not have space to put them. Like in the back seat of your car or something, or even in your garage or somewhere where it will be easy to grab it and then go once everything reopens. S trouble, we're not buying any pantry foods until the pantry is gone. So yeah, like, do a kind of an eat from the pantry challenge or an eat from the freezer challenge or whatever, and challenge yourself to use up everything you have before you go out. And that will be like the double benefit there, is that you are still getting sustenance, you're using up all that stuff, you're not sending it to a landfill, but you're also like extending the amount of time before you have to go back out to a grocery store. So that's a good one. I did mention the whole eat from the pantry challenge to my husband, and his eyes could not have rolled any further back in his head. Purely because I had called it an eat from the pantry challenge. um, so yeah. Let me see. Kathleen, don't you have to do laundry before folding? Yes, yes, you do. We're doing a lot less laundry these days, though, because we're not changing our clothes nearly as often because we're just sitting at home all day. So, yeah, less laundry. That has been an upside to this. Donna's been putting all of her purged items into her shed until she can donate. Yeah, getting them into an out of the way place where you don't see them. They're still easily accessible, but you don't see them every day. You're not like reminded of them. They're not taking up space in your home. Um, Debbie's Dilemma says porch pickup definitely works. She's done it several times and so far she's been lucky. Yeah, it's a great way to get rid of stuff. There are plenty of people out there who would love your stuff. Or again, like if you've got magazines, games, things like that, instead of just completely dumping them or getting rid of them, just ask your neighbors if they would like them. Let me see. Janet's just asking about Sky Safari yet. If so, did you like it, Janet? I was hoping you would pop on because we have used it and we loved it. And Scout even asked me last night if we could do it again, but it was raining. Scout is going through a big like looking up at the stars phase. So thank you for that recommendation. I really appreciated that. Yeah, Laura says her car isn't going anywhere for a while, so she's filling the trunk with donations. Absolutely. Kathleen says she put a box of books and magazines at the end of her driveway with a free sign on them. They were gone within an hour. So many people are looking for reading material, things to do, things to occupy their time. They're looking for books and magazines and games and puzzles. Even if you've got food items, as long as they're like non-perishable or whatever, and you can put them outside. So maybe you've got some tins of things that you know that you're not going to use. Someone else would love those right now. So that, just consider it. It's definitely another way to go. So Stacey, Finding a Way, says, my mom's group started a page where people could let others know or post things that you were looking for or getting rid of. There were so many moms that used to shop secondhand. Absolutely. It's such a great way to still provide something to the community, still get rid of your own stuff without just filling up a landfill, without needing to go to a charity shop or whatever. Debbie Dilemmas has made her dining room a dedicated place for storing donations, folding laundry, storing her deliveries from Amazon until she feels safe to open them. Yeah, just having like I don't know what you would call it, but like a way station, kind of, just like a temporary stopping point for things. Okay, so here's a great question. Melly Honeybee 88. How do I declutter things when I think everything could be important in the future? What I like to do with these things is to, first of all, just have a word with myself. And I don't mean that in a harsh way, but really genuinely, are you going to use this stuff? How long have you had it? Have you ever used it in that time? And if not, that's probably a good indicator that you're not going to use it. Also, think about how easy it would be to replace if you got rid of it and then afterwards thought that you might need it. The reality is you're going to get rid of something and there is going to be a part of your brain that thinks, oh, I could have used that. Like I have got rid of some things. And then, a few weeks or months down the line, something will happen. And I'll think, oh, I could really have used that thing right now. But guess what? I just got on with it. Like life goes on. You find a replacement, you make do. There is very little in life that is completely irreplaceable. Um, so I would say, sit down and really be honest with yourself about how long you've had it and whether or not you have used it in that time and how easy it would be to replace. Like if you are taking up a lot of space in your home and a lot of space in your head with something that you could easily replace for like $10 or something that you could easily borrow from a neighbor or a friend, really think about that. The other thing then is if you're really not sure, a good thing to do is to box it up and put a deadline date on it. If I have not used this item by December 31st, 2020, it's going. If I have not used this thing by the time this lockdown is over, by the time, everyone can freely move about again, if I have not used it by that time, realistically, if you're not using it in this time right now, chances are you may never use that. So those are two things to kind of consider. Have you genuinely used it? And how easy would it be to replace if you did at some point in the future need it? So those are two questions to ask. And then if you're still really stuck, boxing it up, putting a deadline date on it. Laura's going to try the box at the end of the driveway with a free stuff sign as soon as the high winds and then the snow seriously subsides in a week or two. Yeah, it's been really windy here. But if you have a box, I know lots of people are using those, the little free libraries. People are now using those not just for books and magazines, but also for like actual like pantry staples and toilet paper and stuff. Like people are great. So yeah, let me see. Debbie Salemas actually brings up a great point. This is something that I meant to mention, so thank you, Debbie, for reminding me. H&M takes clothing that is in terrible condition and they sell it to companies that recycle used clothing. So there are companies like H&M, I'm sure there are others, I don't know of any off the top of my head, that will take your donations. You can just drop off a bag of clothes, textile type things. They will also give you a voucher. Now, obviously, still practice safe social distancing. But if you definitely need to get the stuff out of the house, you don't want to leave it at the end of your driveway or whatever, there are other places that will take it that aren't necessarily donation centers. Let me see. Kathleen just brings up a good point as well. Be sure to start your car and let it run now and then, or you'll have a dead battery when you finally can get out. Yeah, so just every now and again, every few days, just start up your car, let it run for a few minutes. Obviously, open the garage door so you're not just filling the place with carbon monoxide and stuff. Yeah, so that you don't, at the end of this, like this is all over and you hop in your car and you're like, yes, I'm going to get rid of all this stuff finally. And then your car won't start. Stacey says that many people are looking for masks made of cloth in her area. So maybe see if friends would want them. Obviously social distance and maybe packaged so they can sit for a few days so they can throw out the packaging. Yeah, again, using stuff up if you've got scraps of fabric or whatever. Let me see. Remember to check your tire pressure before you drive too far. Yeah, I think a lot of us have cars now that they're just sitting there like, I'm sure my car misses me right now. I want my shoes. Can't remember the last time I wore shoes. Let me see. Yeah, Stacey just said if anyone is worried about items being contaminated, if you acquire items, leave them in the trunk or the garage for several days and then clean off your hands. So yeah, don't be worried about leaving stuff on people's porches or whatever. If your neighbors have said, I would like that jigsaw that you're offering, or those magazines or whatever, you can wipe them down, wear gloves or whatever, deliver them, and then, let them know that it has been already wiped down. And I'm sure they will do their own sanitizing as well. Um, Heather saying she needs to reevaluate some of the stuff she was going to donate. Yeah, I mean, honestly, just take a good hard look at the stuff that you were going to donate and ask yourself, is this actually a donatable item? Is this something that somebody would walk into a store and want to buy, even if it is like a secondhand or a thrift store? People still have standards. If something is full of holes or has a stain on it that can't be removed, like, genuinely, who is going to buy that? That is something that is better off, being recycled, like put into like a textile bin or something, so that it can be taken apart and made into something new. Um, or even like maybe dropping off at a homeless shelter, if you feel that something may not be at the quality for a thrift store. Again, I'm not saying just dump all your trash at a homeless shelter. I am not at all saying that. But if you've got something that is maybe still serviceable, but that a donation shop may not take, that could be something as well. Like women's shelters will take toiletries and stuff like that. So that's another great option. Let me see. Laura's saying that Goodwill, at least in her area, wants clothes with stains and holes too. They recycle fabric into industrial rags as part of their job training program. Yeah, always make sure you check first. I know when we lived in Ireland, our local store that I used to donate to, they had certain things that they would take and certain things that they would not take. So always check with whatever the store is first. They may be happy to take whatever you have. A lot of places will sell it on. So for like clothes that they can't sell in the store, they will sell them and get money as well that way. But always check with the donation center first. Um, One can do small stripes of fabric and do small carpets or covers, etc., says Helen. Yeah, there's so many different ways that you can get creative with the little scraps and bits that you have on hand. Let me see, have I got... Lynette is saying that she has been seriously thinking about her use for baking pans at different times in her life. She used them, but now when she's on her own, she doesn't want to bake like a big layer cake batch of cookies. Yeah, now is a great time for reevaluating, finding like what no longer like lights you up, what no longer deserves a space in your life, so that you can make space for the do make you feel good. Yeah, Ballerina's saying she's not sure about the US, but in the UK, the charity shops can make money on the weight of clothes that aren't worth selling. Yes, that's kind of like what I was saying. They can sell the stuff off for textiles and stuff. But always check with wherever you're donating to. I'm trying to get through all of your questions. Michelle has seen blessing boxes. Yeah, so like a little free library, but like for pantry staples and things like that. And we have some in our local area. They've lifted the kind of like ban on donating stuff for a while. They were saying like, we don't want any donations right now because of the potential to spread the virus on like hard surfaces and things. But they have lifted that now, and they're now looking for donations again. Again, it just comes back to like checking with whatever company or organization or whatever you are planning to donate to, and making sure that they will actually take what you have. Let me see. Kathleen says that she thinks many people are worried about us going into depression with so many out of work, so they're holding on to items just in case. Yeah, and honestly, I would never be one to say just get rid of everything. Like if it genuinely makes you feel better, like if it affects your well-being to have something in your life, then do keep it. Like if you've got the space, if it's like the benefits of keeping it outweigh the negatives, then do consider keeping it. It's not just about just getting rid of everything. If you have a connection to something, just ask yourself, like there is nothing in our lives, or very few things in our lives, that are very much like black and white. Like this is utter junk crap. I definitely do not need this in my life. Obviously there is actual trash, but there are very few other items that are kind of like, this definitely needs to go, or this definitely needs to stay. Like there will always be some kind of like pros and cons to lots of things. So weighing them up and just asking yourself, like, would this make me feel better? Particularly in a time like this, I think people are either in that mindset that Kathleen talked about, where they fear there's going to be like a big recession, So if it makes you feel better, like if it would just stress you out to get rid of stuff, don't do that. But other people then are going the opposite direction. They're like, I just want, like, I've now realized what my priorities are or whatever, and I've had all this extra time at home. I want to get rid of this stuff. So do whatever works best for you. And I can't tell you, what you should keep, what you should get rid of, or how much is like the exact amount of things. Because sometimes I get questions like, how many pairs of pants should I own? That sort of thing. Like, that's a completely subjective thing. Donna brings up a really great point, actually. She takes pictures of emotional items that she hadn't thought of for a long time, and then she puts those in a photo album. Um, that is a really great way, because often with sentimental stuff, because there's that sentimental attachment, we think I need to keep this thing for sentimental reasons. But in reality, it's not the actual physical thing itself, usually. It's just the memory of it, the like connections that we have to it. So it's really just that it jogs a memory. It reminds us of a person, it reminds us of a place, it reminds us of a time, it reminds us of a feeling, whatever. Taking a picture of it and then storing it, in the cloud or wherever, means that you can still evoke those memories without having the physical thing in your home. So that's great. Thank you for bringing that up, Donna. That is a really good point, about taking pictures of things so that you still have the memory of the thing, but you don't necessarily have to keep the physical thing. She's saying her husband did that to his souvenir t-shirts. He cut out the important emblem. Exactly. And I have magazine. So I used to write for a newspaper years ago, before Scout was born, and I used to collect all of the newspapers to have them. What I have done since is just torn out the page where my column appeared and got rid of the rest of the newspaper, and it like significantly reduced the bulk. So that's kind of what I was talking about with condensing things, like taking things out of the boxes and whatever. If you are saving like a magazine just because of like one article in it or one recipe or something like that, strip it out, save it somewhere, and then get rid of like the bulk of the item. Same with user manuals and things like that. If you want to keep them, I mean, like the vast majority of them are available online now, so I would encourage you to like get rid of the physical thing. But if you still want to keep it, chances are only about 1/10 of it is actually in a language that you understand. The rest of it is in like multiple other languages. You can just keep the part that is in the language that you speak and read. So that's another good tip for you. Let me see. Janet, her husband passed on the 7th and she's having to declutter his stuff now. Janet, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. That is really hard. Just like give yourself plenty of grace and rest and like time. That is not an easy process. And again, that's something where it comes down to not getting rid of something just because you feel that maybe you should, or maybe it's taking up space. That's about weighing like the benefits of keeping it to your well-being, versus the benefits of getting rid of it. So don't make like any rash decisions right now. Just give yourself some time to grieve and to heal as much as you can from something like that. But yeah, give yourself a lot of grace. Don't make any rash decisions. Don't feel that you need to do something right now. You definitely do not. All you need to do right now is just take care of yourself. That's it. Let me see. It's a great opportunity, says God Servant, to repurpose items too. I'm using some of my baking items for gardening. Yeah, like again, that goes back to what I was talking about recycling, finding like if you've got jars or containers or milk cartons or even like toilet rolls, like that thing that is like more precious than gold dust right now. You can like fold in the bottoms of those and turn them into little seeding pots. Not that I'm great at like gardening or anything like that. But those things like that are great. Like, can you use something for something else? Debbie says that in Canada, her food banks have only been taking monetary donations. Yeah, again, it comes back to just asking the organization what they will accept, what they won't accept, or how they would prefer to accept something. So Helen says she can make copies of articles from magazines and keep them on her computer. Yeah, a lot of the time what I do, if I'm reading a magazine and there's like an interesting article or like little tip or something in it, I'll just snap a picture on my phone, save it into a folder on my phone, and then get rid of the magazine. That saves a lot of time and space as well. I think that's everything. I hope I've answered all of your questions. You can like send me a message, or if you're watching this on YouTube, like drop it in the comments and I will get to it. Let me see. Yeah, it's just asking what to do with nostalgia inducing stuff. So again, yeah, just like we discussed, taking pictures of them, but again, weighing up. And it comes down to as well how replaceable the item is. So like I was saying earlier, is it easily replaceable? Like if you're holding on to something that just reminds you of a person or a place or whatever, but the thing itself can easily be replaced if you needed to, then consider snapping a picture of it or just journaling about it, writing a little journal entry, saying what the thing is, like why it reminds you of that feeling or that person or whatever, and just keeping some form of record of it without necessarily having to keep the physical item. So yeah, it comes down to a very personal preference, like weighing up the benefits of keeping it versus getting rid of it. I really hope that was helpful, everyone. I know that we're all like in that, like I want to get everything out of my house, but I also want to keep all of these things, and what should I get rid of and how can I get rid of it? And we're all in that like really strange headspace right now. So I really wanted to provide some practical information, some practical advice. I really hoped that helped. Thank you for sharing all of your comments and all of your suggestions. Really, really helpful stuff. And like I said, if you've got a question, feel free to ask afterwards and I will reply if I can. I hope you're all having a great time. Hope you're all either being productive if you want to be productive, or that you're all taking this time to rest and relax if that is what you want to do, or you're having like a nice healthy balance of the both, whatever works for you. But I will speak to you all very, very soon. I will be back on Instagram if you want to catch another live stream. I'll be doing another Instagram live stream on Wednesday at noon Eastern. And on YouTube, I will be back with a regular video on Thursday. It's all about kind of like finding motivation, how you can get going on something and keep going. If you're at that stage right now where like, you don't know where to start, or you don't know what to do next, or you just don't really have the motivation, like you can't get yourself from inaction to action. That's what Thursday's YouTube video will be about. No, I lie. I lie. That's what the following one will be about. This Thursday's, because I'm working ahead now, this Thursday will actually be about how to beat procrastination. So kind of a similar topic, but kind of more like mindset things, how to like overcome that feeling of procrastination. Sorry, I tell a lie. I'm currently working on next week's video, and that's why it's in my head. But stay tuned for all of them. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I hope you're all staying happy and healthy. And I will speak to you all very, very soon. Bye, everyone. Bye.